one. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon. I am really, really happy that Kaisa, who is in our Facebook self-care group, asked for this. She asked for some kind of daily strengthening self-care thing that she can do. So I invited my friend Eamon, also known as Instutor Jesus, to teach us mindful capoeira for stretching, for strengthening. And without further ado, take it away.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me mid-morning here in San Francisco. I'm in my home, and if I'm not shouting, it's because I have a 10-month-old baby who's going down for a nap. So I hope you can hear me okay. I'm gonna call her by her capoeira nickname, like Chantel, who has a nickname of Guerreira, warrior in capoeira. Many of us have nicknames. Like she said, I am an instructor of capoeira. That means in capoeira speak just means that I am endorsed by my teacher to teach in turn. And since the beginning of the pandemic, I've started doing these online classes to focus on preparing and conditioning the body for a capoeira practice, something that I wish that I had when I started capoeira as an adult. And it can seem, I don't know if you guys are familiar with capoeira, but it has a lot of acrobatics. It's a Afro-Brazilian martial art that has elements of dance and music and acrobatics. And when I first saw it as a grown-up encountering it, I thought I could never do that. And I was 22, and for 5 years, I didn't go back to another capoeira class. And in time, I've realized that there are ways to prepare your body. And it's actually, we see the spectacular examples of capoeira, especially if you look it up on YouTube, but it all starts out with very natural movements. And I think it can be a great way to create a daily practice and just get in touch with your body's capabilities and build a little strength and flexibility along the way. So I'm going to do a follow along, and the first bit is going to be just my conditioning stuff, and then we'll do a few capoeira moves towards the end as well. If something hurts, don't do it. It's not about pushing yourself past a comfort zone, but I'm going to try to give something that's achievable for everybody today. And actually just take you what I try to do on a daily basis. So let's take a big breath in. And out. And I'm going to think really carefully, even I'm just lifting my arms over my head. I'm going to try to tuck my tailbone, and I'm going to try to keep my ribs down and achieve what we call a hollow body shape here. So I don't want to arch my lower back. It's going to look like this. And again, one more time. I'm going to now try to lift up my shoulder blades and shrug my shoulders. I'm going to clasp my hands together and point them to my fingertips towards the ceiling. I'm going to feel my toes on the ground, grabbing the ground. And I'm going to be strong through my legs, flex the glutes. We're going to lean over to the side and pull open the side body. I'm going to turn my chest slightly to the ceiling. And then go to the other side and repeat. And back to the middle. I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together, lift my chest up to the ceiling, and look back. And back to standing. Just relax the shoulders. Let's rotate the head, bringing the chin to chest. One direction and then the other. Breathing, paying attention to the sticking points. And then I'm going to roll my shoulders back. And let's make some big circles. Try to visualize your shoulder blades moving. Exaggerate how much space you're taking up with that rotation. And then forward. Very good. Okay, so that's how we're going to move our arms from the shoulder blade, from near the spine. I'm going to straighten my arms now. And I'm going to windmill them forward, lifting up in the middle, shrugging, and trying to keep that hollow body shape the whole time. So I'm going to be flexing my glutes a little bit, and then we'll go backward. And the next one takes a little coordination. I'm going to go one down and one up, like so. And then the other direction. Other opposite, very nice. I'm gonna put my elbows up like this, and I'm gonna try to set my shoulder blades down on my back. I'm gonna flex the glutes again, grab the ground with my toes. I'm gonna keep the feet flat on the ground, and I'm gonna swivel side to side. Pulling the shoulder blade open with each turn, so I can almost face the wall behind me. Then I'm gonna release the arms, and just gently flop them back and forth. We're loose now. Kind of hitting my body with my hands. And then I'm gonna take my heels off the ground and slowly broaden my stance as I turn. I'm gonna get wider and wider and a little deeper here. I'm kind of throwing my arms, kind of like I'm throwing wild punches. Distract the shoulder joint a little bit. Loosen up the spine, okay? I'm gonna change now, and I'm gonna start leading from my hips more. And the arms are just gonna follow along. I'm gonna shift the hips to one side and then the other. Let's find that bend in the spine. I'm dropping my ear to my shoulder. Breathing, let's get lower now. Drop the hips lower, lower. And then I'm gonna go all the way to one side, okay? So this is the first time I'm gonna mention a capoeira shape today. This is the Zhinga position. Ginga is our moving base in capoeira. We're just doing one part of it right now. So it's kind of like a lunge stance. And I'm gonna try to have a 45-degree angle from the top of my head to the bottom of my back heel. I'm gonna push through that back heel so that my leg is straight. And I'm gonna lean forward over the front knee. So both heels are off the ground. Maybe a little challenging already if you're not used to this, but I'm gonna try to keep both heels off the ground. I'm gonna bring the back knee to the ground and come back up. And every time that I stand up, I'm gonna really use the glute of my back leg to lift myself up. We're gonna do this 10 times. 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm always looking for opportunities to use Portuguese in my daily practice. I'm not a native speaker, and I need to practice just like we all do when we decide to train capoeira. Let's try it 10 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Very good. I'm gonna move through my hips back to the first side that I did. And now I'm gonna inch my front foot out to the end of my mat here, and my back foot all the way back. You might be wider than me, you might not be as wide as me. The point is, we are going to be at the limits of our comfort zone right now for how wide of a stance we can achieve. I'm gonna angle my front foot slightly to the inside and square off my hips this direction. And we're gonna do some lunges and this really wide stance. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then lift up and hold. We're gonna flex that glute in the back leg. Try to square off the hips. You should feel a stretch in your hip flexor of the back leg. Breathe. One more deep breath. Good. We're gonna carefully switch to the other side. Big wide stance. Remember to angle that front foot slightly to the middle, square off the hips. And coming down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and hold. Let's just hold that position. Straighten the back leg, flex that glute, push through the heel. Very good. And we're gonna come back over to the middle now. I'm gonna straighten both my legs, and I'm just gonna find my hip hinge here. So we've already visualized our shoulder blades a little bit. Let's also visualize our pelvis now. As we're hanging down, don't worry about how low your head is. When I have a neutral spine, think about tilting your pelvis forward and creating a narrower angle between your femurs and your pelvis. You're gonna push back into your hips a little bit. You're gonna flex your quadriceps muscles, top of the thighs, to straighten those legs. Go a little bit deeper now. Keep flexing the quads. Lift the sternum up so your back is more or less flat. And then we're gonna come back up to standing here, and I'm gonna go into some side lunges or Cossack squats. And I'm gonna come as low as I can and then come to the other side. If that's too difficult for you, you can grab a chair or use the wall. But see if you can come down to a nearly passive position on the bottom. This toe of the straight leg is gonna point up to the ceiling. We're gonna go back and forth here a few times. Finding that deep squat position. Try to track your knees over your toes as you go down. You want a bigger challenge? You could hold your arms above your head like this. Removes the counterbalance advantage. I'm gonna come all the way down here and put a hand on the outside of my straight leg, okay? I'm gonna go into a hurdle stretch. If you feel pressure on your knee, don't do this. Your body may not be ready for it yet. For me, it feels totally fine, but do be careful. You're gonna lift up your chest this side. Try to bring that sit bone down to the ground. And then you're gonna bring your knee back up so it's tracking over the toe. We're gonna lift up and go to the other side and repeat. Square the chest and hips. We're using our hand for support here and come back up. Before you attempt to stand up out of this position, make sure the knee is tracking over the toe. If it's collapsed in like that, it can put a lot of pressure on your knee. We're gonna come back to this side. One more time here. And then we're gonna go one more time over here. And I'm gonna bring both my legs onto the ground in what's called a 90-90 position here. Both knees are at a 90-90 degree angle. And I'm gonna turn my chest toward the screen as much as I can. Lift up my knees here and go to the other side. So I'm starting off with plenty of assistance from my hands on the ground. I am trying to lean forward a little bit at the end of every repetition. Getting deeper into this. Great way to warm up your hips. And there's always a coordination element to mobility. It's not just how long your muscles are or how strong they are. It's also knowing how it feels to be in certain positions. So that's part of what we're doing. I'm gonna come onto the side here and come up into a Shin Box position. I'm gonna think about that hollow body shape again. I'm gonna tuck my tailbone, draw my shoulder blades down my back. Okay, I'm gonna sit back down. I'm gonna try to do this one without any hands on the ground. I'll come up to the other side. Flex the glutes, tuck the tailbone, ribs down, shoulder blades down back. Here we go. Back and forth. One more time on each side. Feel that glute flex. We want to just familiarize ourselves with that hollow body shape. And then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to go into a half pigeon. So I'm going to fold my chest over my front leg. Don't stress about how close your head is to the ground. This is about sensation, not about achieving a particular position right now. I'm going to push this front knee into the ground and push my sit bone into the ground. And I'm going to visualize that hip hinge, the pelvis hinging forward closer to my femur. I'm going to do this in a more of an active stretch. So I'm going to go back to the other side and repeat. I'm going to go back here. We're going to go back and forth, finding this half pigeon pose on each side. Waking up the glutes, piriformis, hip muscles. One more time. And I'm going to swing my legs underneath me. I'm going to have a seat on the mat. I'm going to sit on my heels. If you can't sit this way, like for a long time, I couldn't sit this way because I had a knee surgery and this was hard for me. You can put something underneath your hip bone, your sit bones there, so that to give you a little support. But if you can, I'm going to come down and sit on your feet right here. Let's think about that hollow body shape again. I'm going to tuck the tailbone a little bit and draw the shoulder blades down the back. And then I'm going to very carefully shift from one side of my legs to the other. So I'm going to have one hip come off the edge and just go past the heel a little bit, shifting side to side, feeling the tops of my ankles get a stretch. I'm going to come back to the middle, hands on thighs. I'm going to see if I can move my rib cage across my hips in isolation. We might, if you're like me, when you start doing this, you're like, oh yeah, my spine can move like way more than I remembered that it could remove. There's like so many places that can shift side to side. Let's try to get the rib all the way to this one, rib cage all the way to one side and then to the other. And then I'm going to do some concave, convex chest repetitions here. Totally concave, convex. And then I'm going to make some big circles, exaggerating the position of my shoulders and my sternum. One direction and then the other. Get as much bend out of your spine as you can. I'm going to come back to the middle. I'm going to put my hands straight out. I'm going to do thumbs up like this. I'm going to notice, especially if you're like me and your upper body's a little tight, your ribs start to come up here. We want to counteract that. So I'm going to tuck my tailbone and keep my ribs down. And I'm going to pull open my arms. But the way I'm going to do that is by squeezing my shoulder blades together. Don't think about the movement coming from the hands. Visualize your shoulder blades. We're doing it in pulses. Squeeze together, come back. Squeeze together, come back. Straighten the arms, squeeze together, and come back. I'm going to turn my palms to the ceiling. I'm going to continue to keep those ribs down, and I'm going to squeeze together and come back. Squeeze the shoulder blades, come back. Squeeze the shoulder blades, come back. Squeeze the shoulder blades, come back. Very nice. I'm going to shake out the feet as I carefully get up. I'm going to be sideways on my mat this time. Take a breath in. And I'm going to come down to a flat-footed squat right here. If you have trouble with this, you can put something under your heels. It may help. I'm going to assume that you might be able to do something like this. So I'm going to continue from here. I'm in my flat-footed squat. I'm going to come up on my toes and I'm going to drop my knees down to the ground, lift up my hips. And then I'm going to come back here, come into a plank position, one push-up, down dog, roll into an up dog. From right here, I'm going to hop up, come into a pike position, roll up, take a breath in, and come back down. And this is what I'm going to call my Capoeira Burpee. Drop the knees. When you do this, you got to flex the glute. Plank, push up, down dog, up dog. Pike position, slowly roll up. Take a breath. We're going to do 5 of these today. Drop down. That's 3. Here comes number 4. And one more time. Roll up. And then I'm going to come back to the middle. I'm going to find myself in this flat-footed squat. And I hope maybe it's feeling a little bit more open than it was 15 minutes ago when we started. I'm gonna try to lift up my sternum here, engage my hip muscles so the knees are out over the toes. I'm gonna grab an ankle with my opposite hand, place the other hand behind my head, and I'm gonna turn my sternum all the way to the wall. If I can get that position, if that's a struggle, you can stop with that. If you want a little bit more, you can extend your arm, draw your shoulder blade toward your spine, and completely turn to the side. Switch to the other side and repeat. We're gonna go back and forth here 5 times on each side. Let's really try to turn. Try to keep the hips down when you turn. Lift up the chest. Once we've done our 4 or 5, I'm gonna come back to a squat. And I'm gonna go straight back onto my hands. Not one hand at a time. Both hands go to the ground at the same moment. I'm gonna feel my fingertips grabbing the ground, engage the forearms, and come right back to a squat. Not one hand at a time. We're gonna try to go straight back and straight forward. One more time. Okay, I'm back in my squat. So then from here, we're gonna go, put your hands in front of you on the mat, and I'm gonna try to do the same thing, but my feet are gonna come off the ground for a second, and I'm going forward to the squat, hands on the ground. Just come off the ground. Not a big high handstand, just lifting off. Don't do a big jump. I'm gonna try to tuck my chin, and it's gonna feel really weird if I'm not used to doing inversions. I'll look up at the ceiling. One more time. Back to my squat. I'm gonna put a hand behind me and to the side here. See that's on the edge of my mat? I'm gonna lift up my pelvis. I'm gonna drop my head back and go into a half bridge. Come back through the middle and go to the other side. I'm gonna do about 4 of these on each side. I wanna feel my shoulder blades retracting, chest opening, and I'm gonna send my center of mass back toward the wall behind me as I look at the wall. Make sure you're flexing your glutes. Try to keep your feet on the mat. One more time. And then I'm gonna roll over. And I'm just gonna start doing a bear walk around my mat. Bear crawl. I'm gonna try to keep my legs straight and step to my hand with each step. Okay. And then I'm gonna go into a crab walk. So now my belly is facing the ceiling. Strong through the arms, strong through the hips. Okay, I'm gonna turn over one more time and I'm gonna do what's called a tiger crawl. So now my knees are hovering above the ground and I'm stepping to inside my hands with every step. I'm gonna make my way to the edge of the mat now. I'm gonna be in my tiger crawl position. Hi, I can see you under my arm. I'm gonna try to keep my eyes on the screen the whole time. I'm gonna roll into crab walk, tiger crawl, crab walk, tiger crawl. Feel your hands on the ground. I'm gonna try to keep my arms pretty straight here. Keep tucking the chin and looking at the screen the whole time. Very good. And slowly roll up. I'm gonna grab a target. I'm gonna put my mat to the side. So you can use a tall target or a small target. It does not matter right now. We're simply using something to mark our space. And I'm gonna try to give you guys a 3-minute introduction to our moving base in Capoeira. the Ginga. So see if we can follow along. I'm gonna be in that lunge position. Bring a foot together, step to the side. Together, side, back, together, side, back, together, side, back. This is where the hands go, but we're not gonna worry about that today. We're gonna think about the rest of our body. Feet in contact with the ground. Right here, I'm gonna bring my feet together and get down low, and then come back. Ginga, get down low, come back. Ginga, get down low, come back. Ginga, get down low. Now I put this target here, and I'm gonna try to stay same distance from the target for all of my movements. About one leg length distance. Down, good. Now back to Ginga. And I'm gonna freeze right here. Zhinga position. I'm gonna step to the side and pass my straight leg over the target and come back to a Ginga. Congratulations, you just did your first capoeira kick. Well, maybe for some of you it's your 10,000th one, I don't know. But either way, congratulations, lift that straight leg over. This kick is called Meia de Frente, half moon from the front. Good, one more time on each side. Very nice. Good, and then before I go, I'm gonna get down low here, just like we did the bear walk, crab walk switches before. I'm gonna roll over, I'm gonna end up standing. Drop down low, roll over. Other side, boom, boom, hands on the ground. Drop down low, roll over. Oh, you don't have to do the last one, I guess, if you want to. All right, we're out of time. Thank you for joining me. I am a busy dad. I try to do that stuff in the park, mix it into my day. Don't always have time to go to the gym, but it's really basic and it gets you sweating, right? And it really puts you in tune with the way that your joints function. I'd love to answer any questions if anyone has any. How you feel, Kachia?
Oh man, I haven't taken a class in like 2 years. It's awesome. Rusty, but excited.
Great to have you here.
Yeah, man. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Cabernet, not to put you on the spot, but how was that for you?
That was horrible. My joints are shot. It just, yeah, that felt terrible, but in a great way.
What was the
Thank
hardest
you.
part? You're welcome.
What was the hardest part? I can't I can't get my heels down on the squat.
There you go.
Definitely not low enough for my standards.
Yeah, so there's always going to be levels to engaging these movements. And I think for the squat, I know that elevating your heels, but still being in contact with something is something that's recommended, because sometimes ankle mobility limitations are the problem. But also I've just been exploring what's the lowest object you can sit down on and stand up without using your hands. And I'm down to this yoga block now. Maybe some of you can just sit on the floor. I can go here and I can stand up. My 7-year-old can do it on the floor, no problem. My mom, who's 80, needs something higher. I was testing out what she could do. She put something like this high. Can you sit down and then stand up, and then just explore from there and just kind of figure out where the frontier is of your ability, and let's all regain these positions, because they're really enjoyable to be able to do well.
Yeah, and I didn't get the memo to get my yoga mat. That would have been less slippery.
Thank you, Cabernet.
And if you ever want to know how to say half pigeon in Sanskrit, I can help you out.
Oh, thank you. I should have mentioned I'm certainly not a yogi, so I'm borrowing things from yoga that I've adapted to my capoeira, and I'd love to get some instruction in that sometime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Is there any last words, any last questions before we move into our day? Okay.
Thank
You want
you.
to check out more about my program? It's right here, caqsf.com. You can shoot me a message. I do classes like this online every Monday morning, pretty much. So hit me up, and I hope to see you. Thanks so much for trying something new. I really appreciate it. Capoeira can seem intimidating, but I really believe it's for everybody. So thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thanks so
so
much.
much. Have a beautiful
you.
day, everybody. And I'll put a
You
link
too.
to those classes. Mwah. Much love.
All right.
Much love.
Thanks.